Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and this one's awesome. It's with Jess Pryles, and we talk all about her new TV show, Hardcore Carnivore, which is on the Outdoor Channel on Mondays at 8:30 Central. If you don't get the Outdoor Channel, what I did is I got Friendly. I'll put a link below to Friendly itself. I don't get paid for it, but it's roughly $10 a month, and you get all these channels, and you get the Outdoor Channel, and you get to watch Jess's show. So at the time of recording this, only one episode had aired. I've watched that first episode. It's spectacular. I've already learned so much. I'm not going to go into it because she talks about it during our interview as well. She talks about what the series is all about. She's already filming season 2. I am extremely happy for her. If anyone deserves a TV show, it's Jess. And at the end of this interview, I pepper her with meat-related questions, and I think they'll resonate well with you. I can't thank her enough for taking the time. Oh, she does mention, too, all the different ways that you could watch the show if you don't have the Outdoor Channel with your provider. I have Spectrum. They don't have the Outdoor Channel. That's why I got Friendly, but there's a bunch of other ways you could watch it. So sit back, relax, enjoy this, and be sure to visit your local barbecue joint, and be sure to watch Hardcore Carnivore on the Outdoor Channel. Hey, Jess, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing?
So stuff is going on with you. How exciting. I think we kind of you alluded to this last time we spoke, and now it's real. As week 1 has already come out, so let's
Now it's
talk about it.
happening. It's all happened.
So let's what's the
The
story?
big news.
Yeah.
I have a TV show. I have a TV show. Wait for it, called Hardcore Carnivore. It obviously just makes a lot of sense with the seasoning and the cookbook having that name and everything. And it's on Outdoor Channel every Monday night for 10 episodes. So we aired this week, with the week of the 23rd. Yeah, we filmed it all last year, and I'm actually already on the road filming season 2, which is very
Really?
exciting. Yeah, I'm going tomorrow to film some more episodes on the next leg. We try and film 2 episodes every time we go on a big run,
Oh, gotcha.
and it takes a couple of days per episode. So it's hard. It's awesome, but it's hard because you want to get your head in that moment, but you have to break away from everything else you've got going on, like any videos, any admin, any emails, any presentations, like anything else has to just go by as you are, off the radar for these days, just intensively filming.
Wow, that's really crazy. I was going to ask about that because I know that you have a lot of stuff going on, and you have your hand in so many different things, and because I know that you're just interested in so many different things, so
Yeah.
everything has to kind of shut down for this. So there's a photo, one of your photos with bacon and stuff. Is that going to be in this one, or is that for next
It's,
season?
oh, that's next season.
Next season.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
so
Okay.
that's season 2. So if it got filmed this year, it's season 2. So,
Okay. Well, that looks cool. Then people have to watch this season, and then
and
that
then
way
what's
they'll,
next season?
yeah, next season.
It's a lot of fun. It's like, Outdoor Channel has traditionally been hunting shows, and I wanted to do something really different. So this is very much all things meat. So there is some hunting because I think that's relevant to the story of how you procure meat. But there's also like we visit ranches and we do this really cool deer capture where it's like a field biology lab
Wow.
thing where they're netting these wild deer and taking all this data off them to understand it better and help preserve the whitetail population here in Texas, and did some cowboy shit down in deep South Texas too. So
Nice.
like it's been a really cool ride, and obviously there's also cooking every episode.
How does it feel though that it's out now? Like, is what was that building up that couple weeks before, and like, how does it feel now?
I mean, I've been sitting on this massive secret for a year and a half because obviously I found out that I got offered the show, and then you go out and make it, and then it gets edited. And I knew when I was out on the road for season 1 that I would have to be able to let folks know, like, I can't not post for days at a time on stories or something like that. So I had alluded, that there was a show in the works, but couldn't talk about the what and the why and the how yet. So I've been waiting for a year to be able to fully give that information. And it's weird because my brain is a year ahead because I'm already like, hey, yeah, we already did all that. Like it's
Yeah.
already launched in my head. I'm already on season 2, and it's so cool and it's so different. So it's very exciting. Everyone is so lovely when you have a big announcement like this. Like I'm lucky enough to be supported by a lot of incredible people and have some very amazing
Yeah.
fans and followers, and everyone was really excited for the news. And because a lot of folks, already saw the first episode, there was really great feedback coming in.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and how, because I was trying to find, and I was going online, and I, like you, I have a million things going on, and I was trying to figure
Right.
out if you could watch it maybe on a computer or watch it somehow. How, what are the different ways people can watch
I
it?
need to
And
pull up my cheat sheet.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it is on the Outdoor channel. That is on DirecTV Stream, Sling, Fubo, Freecast, Hulu Live TV, Tugo TV, and Dish.
Okay.
And it's also on an app called Friendly, FRNDLY. Basically, the word without any vowels, right? As is
Of course, everything.
right. And
Too
I
cool.
know Friendly, I think, is the most friendly. So it's like $6 or $7 a month to
Oh, cool.
access it, and you get a lot of channels for that. So, you could sign up for the 2, 3 months that the show runs and see how you like it, and then
Yeah.
sign back up for next year to watch
Yeah.
season.
I'll put a link to that below and I'll sign up for that tonight. So that way when I do the intro, I'll at least be able to know what the show was. Because I saw clips from you were at Yeti, right? Were you doing and
Yes,
yeah.
yes. The first episode was an elk hunt. So, first episode was an elk hunt. The second episode is not. I can't say too much yet, but you'll
Oh yeah,
see.
that's true. We can't talk about that.
I
All right.
can't talk about them until they come out, but it was the elk hunt was really cool. It was in Idaho and it was the longest shot I've ever taken. 280-yard shot with a
Really?
full film crew, breathing down my neck. It was also our first episode that we filmed. So you don't always air them in the order that they were filmed, but in this case we did.
Yeah.
So first episode out of the gate, ready to go, and I'm so nervous. The crew have become like family now to me. Like we get so excited to be able to hang out with each other because it's usually the same or most of the same crew on every run. And I didn't know these people really, but I just know that I have cameras on me and I've only been hunting for the last, 6, 7 years
Yeah.
kind of after I moved to the States. So it was a little bit nerve-wracking. And then you realize that millions of people are going to eventually watch it, but it was 280-yard shot and the animal went down straight away. So that was exciting.
Wow. Oh, that's so awesome. I was
Yeah,
go
and it was like
No, that is crazy. And are there how many cameras do they have on you? Is it multi?
there's at least two, sometimes there's a third as well, just
Yeah.
depending.
All right. Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. That is
And then you've
wild.
got the sound guy, and then you've got, the director who's standing a little bit further off because he's like, I gotta be around to make sure that we didn't miss anything, but also I don't need to be right in there. And then there was my friend Shandi from Browning, who's like my hunting mentor, and then there was the guide of the place that we were hunting on. So there were a lot of eyes on that shot.
Wow. And then for that episode, because you could talk about that episode just so people can
Yeah.
know what. So then, did you take that and butcher it and do all that? Is that part of the show, or what is?
No, because part of that for me was being very real about it. So you would rarely, if ever, eat deer on the same day that you kill it and butcher it.
And forgive
And
me, I haven't hunted
and
any.
this
I
was
want
no,
to.
no, no. Well, you
Yeah.
normally try and hang it or age it, or it takes a little
Okay.
while to process.
That
So
makes sense.
I didn't want to do that sort of like faux magic of TV thing where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, now here it's ready. So we tried to make it real and we tried to make it usable. So in this episode, for example, I hunt this elk. We do start breaking it down as best we could. I think we got it quartered and on ice at that stage because they're big animals and you got to
Yeah.
try and stay food safe as well. So, but my friend who was hunting with me, Shandi, she is an amazing huntress, but the meat side of thing eludes her. Like she usually just wraps things in bacon and hopes for the best. So she kept telling me that she had all of these elk roasts and she doesn't know what an elk roast is, but when you drop it off at the processor, you get back things that you recognize like ground elk and elk steaks, and then you get these giant roasts. And it's hard to know. You can usually assume that if they're a roast, they're probably going to be tough and need to be cooked, long and slow and whatever. So I asked her to bring these sort of like freezer remnants that she just doesn't know what to do with.
Oh,
And
that's fun.
so I was like, listen, let's make something with these and let's talk about why you end up with random roasts and where they might be from and what to do if, like they were in netting and we removed them from the netting and then they were sort of in bits, so we cleaned them up a bit. So the idea was just again to try and make it functional to folks watching. So
That's
maybe you find
huge.
the first part entertaining. Maybe you'll pick up a recipe tip. Maybe you'll pick up a little bit of a meat trimming tip. Maybe you'll get some flavor ideas.
Uh-huh.
It's short. It's a 30-minute show, but I wanted it to be. I
But it's
wanted
also
everyone to take something away from it.
it's different than anything on TV that I know of, for sure.
That was my hope.
That was your point, because that's
That
the
was my
point,
hope.
Kevin. No, but that does, it sounds interesting to me. And I don't eat a lot of game and I haven't ever hunted. Not that I don't want to, and that I do intend to, but this will be a good primer for me, knowing that. And I know that people do, the first time I ever saw deer processing was in Texas, was when I
Mhm.
drove around Texas and I started seeing these processing places. I had no idea that that was a thing. It just, coming from California, how would you would it
It's a
know?
it's completely different,
Yeah.
it is. And it was different for me coming from Australia. We don't, there's hunting in Australia, but it's much
Mhm.
less mainstream. And there, you don't roll around with processors and meat
Mhm.
markets everywhere. So I completely understand where you're coming from, and it's a really it's an interesting world.
Yeah, and to roll it back to barbecue with Dozers when they were open, they did processing. I think Miller started out doing processing.
Possibly, yeah.
I think so. So that it's just part of the fabric of Texas and part of the that's I was gonna say this is a question that I had for later on, but and maybe I'll weave it later on. But what path would you have been on if you had never come to Texas? Like what
I
path do
don't
you think you
know.
would?
Yeah, I don't know. It was good. I was definitely already on the barbecue path. So, well, no, that's not true. Not before I came to Texas. I thought you meant if I hadn't moved. I think I still would have found a way into food because I just love eating and I love food and I love flavors. But, that may not have been anything more than a blog as a hobby and, go get a real job. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. It's a strange one. I have a degree in communications, but that's so broad and I'm
super
not
broad.
very much an office person, so who
Well,
knows?
you do use that degree now.
Somewhat. I like to
Somewhat.
say that, yeah, you would think so, but nearly everything that I learned in college is completely unusable in, in everyday life. With marketing, it's like you either got it or you don't, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But it's just interesting because I've watched your path from the beginning, from afar, and then
Yeah,
I've gotten to know you, and it's just interesting to see you grow. And I'm so proud. Like having a TV show is a really big deal. It is.
it's definitely one of those milestone moments
Yeah,
that you can plot on the course of, what happens in a life and a career. So it's
yeah.
very exciting.
And
Thank
it's
you.
and it seemed like something that was sort of inevitable. I think that that was something. It made sense along your path that you would get something like that. And you've done a little bit of TV. What Barbecue Quest? You did that. So
BarbaQuest, I've
Barbecue
been a
Quest.
judge
Sorry,
on Beat Bobby. I know it's tough.
I
Beat Bobby
mispronounced it.
Play.
Oh,
I've judged on Kids Barbecue Championships. I did a Food Network pilot as a judge. That was Barbecue Big Rig Race. That was one episode.
oh,
But and Today's Show and all of that sort of stuff. But people have been asking me for years, when are you going to get a show? When are you going to get a show? And it was interesting because I think if you think about the current food TV and especially barbecue TV that we have, I've been pitched and approached nearly every year to be a competitor on something. And I
oh,
say no every time because that is not you. First of all, I feel like you are kind of eaten up and then spat out by the machine.
mhm,
And most of the time, it's a little bit different on the mainstream cooking shows like Next Level Chef,
yeah,
but most of the time with the barbecue shows, the only people who really get recognized are the hosts themselves. There's not a lot of, if you think back to the first two episodes of, let's say, Barbecue Showdown,
yeah,
you know, where are they now? And I don't mean that in a cruel way. It's just because
yeah.
they deserve the accolades and they deserve the spotlight, but that's just not how the machine is geared. It's not geared to put the spotlight on the right people because they're so overproduced. And it's that classic reality TV thing where and I've seen it because I've been a judge, right? I did a barbecue series in New Zealand
Mm.
where I was the judge for 10 episodes too. And it's the same thing. Every team has their own producer. That producer's in your ear going, "Ooh, it looks like they're having trouble with this. Judge, come on over and put some
Well,
pressure
that's
on them."
true.
Like the whole thing
Yeah.
is to make it more watchable and
Mhm.
more fun. And I guess I don't mind being on the judging side of it because that's just great for the resume, but I just knew I never wanted that because it would never show my food the way that I wanted to do it because it's so heavily manipulated into this very narrow, like,
Hmm.
here's what you're cooking,
Yeah.
here's the peril, here's all the crap we're gonna do to you to scare during it and what have you. And I think, we're used to seeing that format. It works, people watch it, but it feels nearly very homogenous, that competition style. So and I say all this thinking, I got to the point where I didn't think that I would have a show at all because I'd made peace with myself that although I'd done these judging things and sort of been sniffed around by production companies here and there and had other opportunities overseas, it just hadn't happened. And I'd been here for nearly 10 years and it was sort of like, look, it's actually fine if it doesn't. And the other thing is, I'm okay not doing the type of shows that are very, very dominant in the marketplace right now because for reasons mentioned, it just didn't
Yeah.
feel authentic to me. And I think that I've built my brand over being hyper authentic online and
Yes.
to be very, very, very blunt. So to have this come up, I actually was a little bit hesitant in the first instance because it happened in a way that TV shows do not happen. So normally, you would connect with a production company. That production company would sign you for, a limited term as the talent and say, all right, we're going to put
Oh,
together
then
all
we'll.
these pitches and we're going to pitch you to all these networks and see if it sticks. And maybe they'll like the show concept or maybe they'll like you. And if they only like you, then we'll pitch you for a different show. And that's how it works. And maybe 5% of those pitches get a chance to be greenlit for an episode, which is usually they get you to film like half an episode as proof of concept, and then you maybe get one episode like a pilot. Like I know that happened with I think Susie Bullock was in that situation where she had that big
Hmm.
premiere on Food Network, but we didn't see a series after that. And that's so hard
Hmm.
because it's your blood and sweat and tears, and then the network is waiting to see what the ratings look like in order to see if they want to go and invest anymore. And
Yeah.
it's tough, man. So in this case, the I get a call from a production company which is actually owned by Andrew Zimmern.
So,
And
so that's why you've mentioned. Okay, that's cool.
that's my connection with Andrew. So Andrew owns this production company, and Andrew had a show for a couple of years on Outdoor called Wild Game Kitchen, and now he's got a new one called Field to Fire. And I'd met with them like 4 years prior, just like a quick 30-minute Zoom and whatever. And all of a sudden, I get this call out of nowhere, and they're like, "Hey, I'm not sure if you remember us, but we just got you a TV show on Outdoor." Excuse me? And they're like, "Yeah, so you got your own series, and it's already been greenlit, thumbs up for 10 episodes." What? What do you mean? So my initial reaction is like not joy, it's complete
Of
skepticism and
course.
wait, what did you sign me up for? And so I'm feeling my way through this, trying to figure out what the heck has just happened. And it was literally as simple as they wrote a one paragraph pitch, Jess Pryles, Hardcore Carnivore, all things meat, very, very generic. And the network's like, absolutely, let's do it. We wanted to expand our content. Andrew, you've been producing beautiful shows for us. This looks great. Here you go. And so it took me a while to believe it. And then when we started chatting, I said to you before, like I wasn't sure if I was going to do it because I like to hunt and I like to hunt in Texas. I usually hunt whitetail and dove every year. But I have never been a person that's been like, "Oh, I really want to travel to another state and draw an elk tag or go to Africa and hunt something." That's not the type of hunting that I do, while I do respect that other people might be interested in that. And so my first concern was that I was going to be asked to do this show that didn't really represent me and
Hmm.
would pigeonhole me into something that I wasn't. So that was my first reaction. And then we started talking and I really impressed upon how important it was for me to talk about all meat because I also didn't want to be on there talking about wild game and then have this like, you know, advanced knowledge of meat mainly that applies to
Yeah.
commercial meat raising, right? So immediately they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's about you, it's about your story. And it has been the dream run ever since. I get involved in the
Wow,
production. I talk about where we're going. I help decide where we're going. I help decide the stories. I decide
that's
all the recipes. It is like
amazing.
1,000% a collaborative and very genuine show.
Wow. Wow.
I know, right?
It's
It's
such a
just not what you're used to hearing out of
the
TV land
unicorn.
these
Yeah, I
days.
know. Oh, I know. And it is funny because I I take care of my mom and we watch like Bobby's Triple Threat. And so they have like and it's but it's like you could just see or like guys tournament, whatever, tournament champions or something. And it just you can see the same judges, the same it's like it's a wheel, like it's a hamster wheel, and they're all trapped within that. Not that it's bad, it's a way to get exposure, but it's a weird, it seems like once you're in that world, then you're in that world. And
And you may not have ever thought about it before, but for especially for a lot of your viewers, if I asked you to say like, okay, tell me the basic formula to competition food TV. Okay, three judges, three contestants, mystery box, first run, element of surprise, something goes wrong, first person gets eliminated, other people come together, curveball out of nowhere, the things that you're used to seeing cooking are not really what we would cook in our homes because you've got the limitation of production of television, finish and judge scores
yeah,
and
yeah.
like how many shows did I just describe, you know?
Like almost all of them. It's so and
And
it's
and
interesting. Well,
and don't get me wrong, Kevin, like sorry, I just don't want anyone to think I'm being negative. Like I know Kareem is currently, or was on the season of Barbecue Showdown and he's a great guy. He does some amazing
mm,
things for people, but um I guess Barbecue Brawl is the other big one at the moment. I
yeah.
don't know why
Well,
I'm
I
mentioning
know like the Dawn from Koi, Winnie from Smoke Queen, like a lot of them have, but it's also too, and like Rashad, like, but it's after a while. You have to still stay your own. You have to be because because their job is to promote the next season, like to continue
yes.
the seasons going. And yeah, it's really weird too. And it's also you start to realize that too. How are they doing the voiceover right as they're doing something? Well, they have to either come back the next day or stay that night in the same clothes and be able to talk. Like Erin Fegis, she was on Chopped,
Yes.
and she talked about that. And then because she won, it was a full day.
Friend of mine, the chef from Fort Worth, Juan Rodriguez, did Chopped as well. Like same thing. I think Ernest Cervantes did Chopped Grilled
Yeah,
Masters. It is absolutely brutal and grueling
yeah,
to do. They call them interstitials, like where you're doing the pieces to camera, where you're in completely different clothes. Like
yeah.
that's late in the day. And that's how they can also get people less on barbecue shows, more on reality shows. But that's how they can get people to start really talking some like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that on camera because people are exhausted.
That's
And
true. That's true.
they've become friends with this producer
Mhm.
that's pulling all this information out of them, and you eventually just
Yeah.
forget the camera's there.
I'm just
Which
glad
is
that your show's
probably how I ended up swearing a lot on my show
did
because
you?
I have such a great relationship with my crew that I try just to make them laugh most of the time.
Funny is I get requests to be on shows and I don't even do any cooking on anything I do, but I get requests to be on like
To
backyard
compete,
barbecue. Yeah, to
yeah,
compete on a
casting.
backyard barbecue thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not what I do. I cook on my own, but that's I don't show it. It's not because there's a niche already. There is like on the online niche for cooking, and it's
Yeah.
huge. Like a lot of people, and you have your niche that's perfect because you stay within like what you want to do. But I'm not gonna like cook steaks and then show them off, and it's just not my thing. It's just you do it.
I bet you'd be good at it though.
I could be fine, but I don't know. But so then it's for 10 weeks. Are they replaying episodes throughout the like throughout the week? Is that something that's happening or
I'm not sure. Probably like at different non-prime time nights,
okay.
it's probably repeating. And then 90 days after it's aired, it goes to the Outdoor Channel streaming platform, which I think you can access through like Amazon Prime. It's an additional like
Okay.
subscription, but it'll eventually stream and may stream other places. We don't know yet. Watch
Oh,
the
cool.
space.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna look up because I have Amazon Prime, so I'll check all those things too for you, for our viewers, for
Thank you.
or
Thank
the
you.
podcast
Doing the
listeners.
work,
I
doing
like
the research.
I was trying so hard. But I've been like dealing with my mom too. But I've been trying so hard to try to find it because I don't have Outdoor Channel. We have Spectrum, so
Right.
Spectrum. doesn't have it, but I was trying. So
Can't win them all, right?
no, I can't. Is there anything else you want to talk about the show that you want people to know?
No, I think
Because
we
that was
covered it.
great.
And for what it's worth, like I haven't talked about that part of things anywhere else. So
Ooh.
it was great for you to get that story out of me because it's a really important part of it. Like, so good for you.
I don't know. I just like chatting. I love it, and I love our conversation. So it's nice that it meander that way. Oh, I've got a question because when I was thinking about your show, when you're
Yes.
shooting dove, are you shooting with
Yeah.
a shotgun or a with a rifle?
Shotgun. Oh, birds are always with a shotgun.
So I saw because I was looking at their outdoor channel, I was seeing things like and it was like 8 guys, and they're all shooting at like the same either ducks or something. How do they know who shot what, and then how do they like? And I guess you have to, because I think we had maybe discussed off camera. You cut to clean out all the BBs and stuff, right? Or the pellets, or
Yeah. Sometimes, sometimes it's BBs, sometimes it's not, depending on where they've hit.
okay,
Like on dove, for example, you only take the dove breast, and sometimes you'll have hit, the head, something else,
okay,
another part of the body, and the breast is fine. You usually see a little entry wound if there's a BB in there, so you know to sort of pop it out.
gotcha.
But generally, when it's like a pop up and shoot, it's usually either duck hunting or something like sandhill crane. And generally, guys, hunters stay out there until they hit their limit. So, for example, I've never been duck hunting, but I've been sandhill crane hunting, and their limit was, I think it was three per person in New Mexico. I went with Arnis. And
Oh,
so we
cool.
just all popped up. That was a little bit more obvious because they're much bigger birds. Really seasoned hunters know what they've hit. They just kind of get a feel for it. But the general thing is, like, let's talk about dove. The limit in Texas is 15. So most people
Okay.
will just pull the birds, even if they're collecting their own, you pull the birds and
Oh,
clean them all together, and then everyone gets, 15 dove breasts at the end of it.
okay.
Except for me, because I'm militant about it. I put my birds on ice straight away, and I will not share meat with other people who just leave them sitting out there in 80-degree heat while they keep hunting. So
People do that.
most people do that because that's normal here.
So
Like
is so is
like those vests, those hunting vests, and they'll put the bird in the vest and keep
oh,
going, or you know, that's very normal here.
so
I'm the
that's
freak running around with a bucket full of ice trying to cool the carcasses down straight away.
so that's not food safe. That's a tip.
It's not great. You're probably not going to get sick, which is why hundreds of hunters have been,
Yeah.
thousands of hunters have been doing it with no problem. But it does affect the quality of the meat. So the meat can start to smell even gamier if you're not pulling it down.
Well, that's cool. That's good to know. Awesome.
We may talk about that in the Dove episode. I encourage you to watch it. My
Uh,
husband's in that episode too.
yeah, I was going to ask if your husband was in an episode. That was another
Yes.
question. Oh, so
He's
he is. Awesome.
he's really good at bird hunting, so I had him along for the Dove episode.
Wow. That is. And so when you guys started dating and eventually got married, but did he know what he was in for? Did he know all this stuff? He knew what you were, because you had your company and everything, right? When you started
Yeah,
dating him?
Kevin, I don't think I knew what I was in for, let alone to tell him what he was in
Yeah,
for.
I
But
gotcha.
I mean, we got married. We just had our fifth wedding anniversary, and we met 2 years before that.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
That's awesome.
And you know, things were very different 7 years ago. So I had a cookbook and I had Hardcore Carnivore, and I'd done a little bit of, TV appearances here and there. But a lot grows in 7 years, opportunities
Mhm.
and the size of the company as well. So yeah, I don't think either of us. I always have positive outlook, and I always keep driving and hope for the best and keep crushing and pushing forward. But he knew that I was motivated, but I don't know that he knew exactly what he was in for.
Also, too, you've done a great job of weaving him into your content so people get to know him and see your travels. You go on some travels and do things, and that's fun.
Yeah, and that was a discussion too. I think we're living in a time where it's very much like, come with me to plan my wedding and doing all of that. And, at the time, people weren't as openly sharing about everything. And I was very much only concentrating on food content. And now things are different. I definitely share more aspects of my life, and my account is mine. I'm not just like mindless a faceless food person rather,
Yeah.
as I was one day on there. But we talked about it, and I was like, hey, would you be comfortable with this? Because it kind of feels weird to not include you in some things. Even the first time I posted about my wedding on the day we got married 5 years ago, I only posted one photo from the back. These days you would post like a whole slideshow and a video and a get ready and do a
Yeah, and
TikTok while you're
swipes and
waiting to walk down the aisle. So we had a conversation about that, and
yeah.
he's a pretty quiet guy. So he's learned to kind of switch it on in front of the camera too.
Yeah,
But
that's
really,
cool.
all I ask him to do is show up and eat something on camera. It's not that
Yeah.
arduous.
No, but it's nice and it's funny because I have a note somewhere that I email because I email myself notes, which is stupid because I have like 5,000 unready
Oh, I
emails.
email myself reminders. I get it.
It's a silly, but I do. One of them was be more like Jess Pryles because, and it was just to take notes. Like I can't be you, and I don't. We have different styles, but I have some stuff that I'm bringing out in the next month that I think it'd be better to be more like let people know the Kevin because I've been trying to let my guests be the star and let the barbecue joints be the star. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful. That's my goal. Is that when I first started this, I was like cared what I look like when I was, but I'm like now it's not. It's what if I stutter or stammer, it doesn't, I don't care as much as I want the person to sound good who I'm talking to. But now that I'm doing this, like, I think that I want to do some more, talking to the camera on the phone, like, doing some more. So I've learned, so you've kind of created like because I like the person, like who you are, but I also feel like it's very authentic and it's not a persona. And I want to be able to let people get
Thank
that from
you.
you.
I definitely, I started on Instagram 11, 12 years ago. That was a long time ago. And
Yeah.
all you did then was square static photos. And my very first account was the trips that I would take to Texas and, my first football game and this and that. And that's how that following first started because it was Texans going like, oh, she's having a lot of fun and loving all the things that we love about Texas. And then it kind of shifted much more to a food account where it was very much about the photography,
Yeah.
right? And I love food styling and I love photography and that's what that was. And once a week you would get one new recipe with a beautiful food style, like magazine quality photo, and that was it. Then, reels started happening and TikTok started happening. And then the crush of, oh, you're posting once a week? That's cute. Try once a day, which I still have never done. But just that increase on frequency of posting and then also the type of content. So are you doing sounds? Are you showing more about yourself? And as things went on, there are a lot of barbecue and meat influencers now, and a lot of them with the really big accounts are only in the past year or two. And so you would have seen yourself, there are sort of old guards of people that have been
Yeah.
talking for a while, and then a lot of us have been well surpassed by these new people, new accounts, and it's really difficult to compete with because I guess there's a lot of different aspects to it, but I think we're in a time right now where there's a lot of guys in black t-shirts making food slapping videos that are doing really, really well because that's what the algorithm likes. But it's
Yeah.
hard for people to remember, like, wait, which white guy in a black t-shirt was it
Yeah.
again?
Uh-huh.
Frankly. And so what I tried to start doing as all of this video stuff started coming in a couple of years ago was saying, one thing, I can only be me.
Yeah.
I can only be me, and I should put myself in front of the camera more, not just film the food. And that I think was one of the biggest changes that I made.
Yeah, I think I just need to, not that I would be that uncomfortable with it, but I just need to find my groove, like find what
Yeah.
what suits me the
And you
best.
have
So
to play, you have to try on different grooves to figure out which one is right for you.
that's good. Oh, that's good. That's good advice. That's good that for anybody else too who wants to be more forward facing because I see certain people that I don't know if you know Robbie from City Limits Barbecue in West Columbia, South Carolina.
I don't. I
Yeah,
don't.
but he films himself a lot and he films a lot of like his shovel with the coals and it really and it's just he does it so much that I don't even think he cares what he looks like or what he's wearing, what he's doing. He's just and it's done really well for his restaurant, but his food is spectacular too. And
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
But
I
that's what it takes. People
mhm.
need something, we talked about it being homogenous in TV as well. Like, do you remember which show? Do you even remember which season? So, how do
Yeah,
you get people to remember you? Well,
yeah,
you can only be yourself because even if you try and manufacture something, it's
yeah,
nearly impossible to keep it up with the pressure of how much content you need to
yeah.
produce.
And the amount of content out there that people have a chance to look at, you want to make sure that they're when you start talking, they're interested in listening to what you say, or next she's going to give me some good advice, or at least say something funny, or at least say something
Yeah.
kind of
And
interesting. Yeah.
you
Hmm.
get tempted to like I've never done a video where I've slapped a piece of meat because I'm like I understand that that'll probably get me views, but I just can't bring myself to do it. So
Yeah.
there's also things that you can do that we know will be successful for you. The question is, does the world need another one of those?
Probably, most definitely not. Let me. Do you want to go over and do you call them rubs or seasonings, or is there?
Both, whatever,
Yeah.
either
Okay.
or. You
I'm
know
gonna.
what I found out though, Kevin?
Let's.
People feel like rubs are only for barbecue. I use the two words interchangeably,
Mhm.
but our latest flavor is Cajun seasoning or Cajun rub or whatever I call it, Cajun seasoning. And I remember sending it out, and I spoke to a friend of mine who's from Louisiana, and I'm like, "Well, have you tried it in gumbo yet?" And she goes, "Oh no, I thought it was like all your other rubs that it was just
Oh,
for barbecue." I'm like, "No, it's just Cajun seasoning. You put it on whatever you want." So it's interesting
yeah.
that people have that thing in their head about rubs versus
That
seasoning.
no, that makes all the sense, and that's why I don't know what to call it because it's I don't want to because yeah, if you say
Or
rub,
both.
yeah, if you can, but I have nine of them. Do you have nine total, or is there more?
Nine, and then we have seasonals.
Seasons. Okay, so I have nine. I'm gonna randomly pull one, and then I'm gonna show it, and you're to say what it goes best with. How about
Okay.
how about that? Okay, what do we got? Oh, this is the Tex-Mex
Ooh, I love that on skirt steak to make fajitas. Ooh,
Amplify
popcorn.
popcorn.
Yeah, but have you tasted that yet?
I haven't tasted it yet. No, that's why I got them all because I
You'll freak out when you taste the amplifier. People say it tastes. The first thing that people say when they taste it is, "Ooh, this would be great on popcorn."
okay, cool.
It's. I also make crackers with it, so I buy oyster crackers and I melt butter and amplify, pour them all over, toss them together, and throw them in the oven for like 30 minutes on 250, and you have the best snack of your life.
Oh, killer. That's really cool. And the reason was funny is most of the time I bought because I haven't been able because I've been cooking things that don't have much seasoning or even much salt because of my mom. So I
Mm.
haven't had a chance to I've only given them as gifts. Like I bought them and given them as gifts to friends because it's just cool. I think it's fun to give gifts like that. I love to give gifts anyways, but this is also something that I'm going to get a chance to actually try these myself. And I'm actually
Good.
red.
Ooh, that's an all-purpose. So I would do that on chicken. If I'm like making chicken fried steak, that's what goes in the flour. I'll try and limit it to one dish.
Okay,
My
cool.
brain
That's smart.
goes
Yeah,
to a
because I know
million
it's because we're
places.
like 5 hours later. Camo.
Lamb.
Lamb.
Yep.
And it says game and lamb, but lamb is what that lamb is something that you're
I love cooking with lamb. I also love camo on jerky. Even if I'm making beef jerky, it's my favorite to use for jerky.
okay. And I've been thinking about cooking lamb for like 2 months, 3 months. So this is perfect.
Well,
Cool. And
well,
I'll have to send you photos.
great.
Texas jalapeno salt.
Ooh, I love putting that on corn.
Sounds good.
Instant side dish.
Instant side dish corn. Okay. And I spoke over you. That's always a smart thing is to ask you a question and then talk while you're talking. Black black beef,
Steak,
black beef
steak, steak.
steak. This
All beef.
is this the old which one's the first one? But is this
That's
the
the first one.
yeah,
Black, yeah. Black was the
okay,
very
so
first
this is as the kids say OG.
one.
Yeah.
Yo.
Even the adults say it. I think they don't even know what they're saying. Like it's so funny. Like my mom says OG sometimes. I'm like, do you know that stands for original gangster? Anyways, she's like, I don't know. Sweet barbecue rub.
Ribs.
Uh, I'm making ribs tomorrow night. This is this is
I actually use a layer of red and then a layer of sweet barbecue on my ribs.
Cajun. You had mentioned that
What did I last put Cajun on? Chicken, blackened chicken.
blackened chicken. Oh,
Yeah.
God, I can't wait. I can't wait to honestly just to smell all the rubs. Like I love
Yay.
smelling seasonings. So chili lime is the last one.
Shrimp.
Shrimp. I've been thinking about shrimp too. That's when Because I want to ask you, pepper you with some quick questions at the end of about meat safety and meat buying meat, purchasing meat, storing
Yeah.
and stuff. But with I've been having the hardest time getting shrimp out here because everything seems like it's spoiled by the time I get home. It just really
Oh
it's
my God.
I need to find a good fishmonger or somebody that has it. Maybe should I buy it frozen? Maybe I think that might be this.
I mean, it sounds like that might be a safer option for you
Yeah.
at this time. I haven't heard anything about the shrimp market, so I probably can't comment.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, let's disparage the shrimp market while we're doing this. It's very important to do that.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't want to anger big shrimp, Kevin.
I know I know they'll shut me down in a second. Okay, ribeye cap. Talk about the ribeye cap.
It's the best cut on the whole animal. So every ribeye steak, or some ribeye steaks have a very small amount. Some ribeye steaks have a very prominent cap, and it's that sort of little umbrella shaped bit at the top of the steak. And it is a different muscle to the rest of the ribeye, and it is more flavorful, more tender. It is a phenomenal muscle. So it's very special and delicious.
So you should ask a butcher for that because you won't be finding that usually,
You
right?
can it's very unlikely that a butcher is going to get it for you because if they cut off the cap for you off the whole ribeye
Oh, it
roll,
just takes.
they're going to ruin the ribeye, and then everyone else is going to say, "Wait, I've never seen a ribeye that's only this big before. What are you doing?" So I know Costco sells them. I've also got videos on my social media and website on how to take it off yourself if you want to go to the grocery store or the wholesale store and buy a ribeye roll. But that's about the only way you're getting it.
Ribeye roll. That's okay. I'll put a link to that Instagram video because that's what it was. A ribeye roll, and then you take the
Mhm.
cap off if you
Yes.
ah oh that's
It's
cool. Okay. Okay.
DIY.
Okay, so tenderizing, you had a video about tenderizing meat and tenderizing steak, and it's what you vacuum pack it or something, or
Yeah, that's wet aging. So when you vacuum seal meat, you're actively wet aging it as long as it's in the fridge, not the freezer. And it basically slows time down. So it takes the oxygen out. Oxygen, you know, when you hear about skincare and everyone's talking about antioxidants being so good for you,
of course.
oxygen, while we use it to live, is also slowly killing us. It causes decay. So, overexposure to oxygen is what starts meat decaying. And when you take the oxygen out by vacuum sealing it, you slow the process down, but the enzymes that are working in that meat to break the bonds that happen during rigor. So basically, everything's uptight during rigor,
Mhm.
and we want things to relax so the meat's more tender. So when you vacuum seal it, you can just sit in your fridge for 2 weeks and literally just tenderizes itself while it sits there. And
Okay.
because you have it sealed, it's not the same as if you bought something in the grocery store in one of those foam trays because it can last that much longer.
Okay. And then will it just change color? Will it look different? Like so people know that it could it possibly will because there's no oxygen, right? So it will not change color. I don't know.
It eventually will. There's some oxygen in there. You're not removing
Yeah.
absolutely everything, but
Yeah.
it's an anaerobic state where there's no new oxygen coming in. So um eventually it'll still go off even in vacuum seal. It'll just take a much longer time to do it, which is
Okay.
why you really don't need to give it any more than 2 weeks. But it'll usually be quite purpley in the bag, or sometimes when you take vacuum sealed meats out, they sort of have a bit of a funky minerally smell and they appear to be purple in color. And if you just leave them for a little bit, once they interact with the oxygen, the protein that gives meat its color, which is myoglobin, actually shifts different colors. So once it's exposed
Oh.
to oxygen, it turns from purple to cherry red.
Ah, that's great advice. When I've taken meat home from the supermarket and it's we don't know how long it's like how when they do cut meat or if it's sat on someone like someone brought it and left it on the toiletry shelf or something and then someone brings it back. But how long like I've had meat like for 2 days in the fridge and it has starts to smell weird or it even turns gray. What am I or am I is that okay? Is that like that's health advice. I don't want to give health advice, but it's like,
No, it's tough. I know it's tough. It's why a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by cooking meat because it can be expensive and you don't want to
yeah,
feed someone something that you think could get them sick, and how long can you leave it in your fridge for? So,
yeah,
you know, the main thing, the funny thing about meat is if you look, it's always a best before day, but never a use by
yeah.
date. There's actually no law that mandates that you can't sell meat past the use by date. It's just kind of
Okay.
grocery store honest because it's a natural product, right? So
Yeah,
you cannot know to the day that in 7 days this will go bad.
of
Maybe
course.
this one will go bad in 6 days. Maybe this one will be 8 days. Maybe this one will be 14 days. And that's why it's a little bit hard to pinpoint it. However, and obviously, if you've got a stamp on that package and then you freeze it, the stamp's now redundant because you've completely slowed down, if
Yeah.
not paused that process altogether. Generally, I say don't judge the meat by its color, but always judge it by smell.
Okay.
So if you have, for example, we talked about that purple state of the meat that can then turn cherry red. Well, similarly, there's a brown state, which is metmyoglobin. That's when the meat starts to turn off. That's what happens. But it can actually hit that stage and then come back from that stage as well. Hit that color, not that stage. So
Yeah,
it
the
can turn
color.
brown for other reasons. Like, for example, most of the foam trays in the grocery store are actually permeable to oxygen because oxygen will hold that meat being more red for instead of turning
Ah,
it purple,
interesting.
right? But if I take that film and I put a sticker on it, and you get home, and let's say it's a thing of ground beef, and you peel the whole thing off, and everything is beautifully cherry red except for right where that sticker was, and it's brown. That is only because of that protein and oxygen interaction.
Okay.
So the oxygen couldn't come through the sticker as it could through the rest of the film. So that's one great example of when color doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong. And why it's important to trust your nose is that's what's going to tell you what's really going on and what's wrong. So as I said, some vacuum seal will have a little bit of a serumy, minerally smell. If you really smell the bag, it's not going to be pleasant, but it goes away after about 10 minutes of sort of breathing. And it's just, it's like opening the door to the locker room. Give it a little air and it'll be right, right? But if you are at the locker room and it still smells, then you got a problem.
Okay.
Same concept, all right? So I like to say if you're smelling a steak and it's like, ooh, something in here is not right, it's not right.
Hmm.
If you can get close, you go, can't, I don't know, it's probably fine. If you're
Okay.
sniffing it that much, it's probably okay. And at the end of the day, if you want to cook things, as long as you cook them to a safe temperature, especially when we're talking about ground beef, realistically, it may have some off flavors if it started to turn, but it's still not going to get you sick because you cooked all the pathogens out of it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I've always been curious. And I think with freezing meat, I've frozen meat and it's worked fine. I've frozen meat and it's just something, something just didn't work. Or maybe it was airflow in the freezer, or maybe it just
It's
got
probably
too,
the packaging. It's really important what you wrap it in. Like most freezer bags are not going to cut it because of all the extra air in the bag. You really want to use vacuum seal where you can.
okay.
It's going to give you the most life. I had an 8-year-old steak the other day out of a
Oh,
freezer at
wow.
a meat science facility. So you can freeze safely for a very long time.
Okay. So vacuum sealer, that's a nice thing to invest in. And
Yeah, and
that's
they're not expensive. You can get units for under $100 on
oh,
Amazon.
cool.
I think I would say the difference is the quality of the bags. Just if there's any kind of leak or puncture in them, then it kind of negates
Okay.
the point of vacuum sealing them. But you'll find it come in handy for all kinds of stuff, especially if you see sale on meat at the grocery store. It's always a great chance way to buy
Oh,
it and
smart.
just immediately vacuum seal it and throw it in the freezer.
That's smart. No, no, because I've been putting my things in a Ziploc freezer bag, but I'm not as conscious about making sure all the air is gone and
Yeah,
and
you'll
then
get ice crystals form, and
yeah.
things can go wrong faster
Okay.
that
Thank
way.
you. Thank you for that. No, and my last question, I have other ones, but like rest or not to rest or my oh, the blood. I like when you did the blood because everyone thinks it's blood coming out. Even my brother, everyone does, but it's not blood.
Yeah, like when you cut a steak and there's a red juice
Or in the
that comes
bag.
out of it. Yeah, that's that little culprit we spoke about that changes all of those purple, brown, red colors. That's the myoglobin.
Okay.
So it is not blood. It is the natural water that's in the meat because it's 73% water. And it's just colored with the myoglobin protein.
Yeah, okay. That's good. Okay,
Yeah.
it's good because it's not. I don't know why, but I guess it doesn't help that people say I like my steak bloody. Well, that kind of
Yeah.
that goes along those lines. It's I
Like, oh, I'd love to know where you're getting it because that sounds really weird.
it does, but I do like my steak rare. So, but it and it's so funny too. Is I grew up eating steak tartare as a kid. Like my mom would
Yeah.
actually because she knew the butcher, she eat ground beef. She'd take and put spices or like seasonings, like probably Lawry's garlic salt, or who knows what, and make these little balls and leave them on the cutting board. And so my dad and I would grab them and pop them like they were like little like as she was cooking, making burgers or something. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
such a
yeah.
such a fond, wonderful memory because
Oh,
my
my husband eats raw hamburger off the counter. I do not recommend anyone do that, but he's
no.
still with us. So
No, I don't. And as long as you kind of know, I don't know if I would do that from like Kroger or something, or from, but I would do it maybe from HEB because HEB has standards, right?
it has a lot to do with how fresh and recently ground the
Yeah,
meat is.
definitely. Do you ground your own meat?
Not unless I'm doing venison,
Oh,
because it's like I got a lot going on, so I'm
it's a
looking
lot of
for
work.
less things to spend time cleaning.
No.
Sometimes I do, but generally as part of sort of a busy entrepreneur's life, no.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, and then maybe for the last thing, because I know you're doing a thing with Ollie on on burger places. Name maybe a couple of burger places in Austin that we should try.
Well, I'll tell you what's fun. We just filmed a whole bunch more videos and we decided that we were not going to limit ourselves to burgers and we're just going to do anything that's delicious. So,
Cool.
yeah, we've got some fun episodes coming up. But one of my favorite burgers in Austin is a little place called Shortstop. It's a chain, but they flame grill and it's like old
Oh,
school goodness.
I love that. All right. Oh, but so what about barbecue? What is there been many places you've gone to recently that you?
Oh, there's so many good
I know there's
ones.
so Austin is just like or
Love Barbecue, Leroy and Lewis, Interstellar, Moreno Barbecue, Micklethwait, like list is it.
yeah, I know that's a silly question, especially you living in Austin.
It's tough.
It's
It's
not
a
like
tough
there's
one.
like two choices. Is there anywhere that you want to go butcher shop wise, barbecue wise, or meat wise in the world that you haven't gone yet?
Ooh, I haven't been to Japan. That would be interesting. I'd
Oh,
love to go to Spain and see what they do with the Rubia Gallega cattle there. Love to spend some more time in Denmark with their dairy cattle. I would love to try Highland cattle in Scotland. I've got all of these beef to-do lists that I want to meet.
cool.
And I want to try, there's a couple of steakhouses still around the world that I've been meaning to get to. A couple in Stockholm, Fire Door in Sydney. I haven't been to in many years,
Yeah.
so I got a list.
I've got that place. I don't know the name offhand, but I have the place, the butcher shop the Tiffany of butcher shops that you went to in
Oh yeah,
Melbourne, I think.
they just got named as one of the best steak restaurants in the world as well.
Oh,
Even
really?
though they're a butcher shop, they have that little counter. It's Victor Churchill in
Yeah,
Australia.
no, I have a bookmark on my computer. It's like one of the few things because it was so like that video. I'll put a link to that. I'll try to remember to put the link to that video below because that looked. Were you with your husband too, right? You were there?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're in Australia at the
Oh,
time.
that's cool. Well, thank you, Jess, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you. It's just such an exciting time, and I'll try to figure out all the different other ways that people can watch your show, so that way,
Sure. Thank
yeah,
you. I appreciate you doing the hard work.
yeah, I don't mind at all. And yeah, have a great week.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you. All right, take care.
Chat
Bye.
to you soon. See
Bye.
ya.